My God.
Captain, the lifeboats are ready to go. Should we load the women and children first?
No, men and children first.
Excuse me, sir?
It's 2022, Private. A woman can handle a sinking ship just as well as a man can. And if you don't think so, you're a misogynistic hole stuck in 2008.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, for the time being, I am requiring men and children only.
Are you kidding me?
It's 2022. This is what you wanted. You wanted to be treated equal to men? Well, this is how men are treated.
No, we don't. We just say that half the time. We don't actually believe in it.
Yeah, we do. Come on, we're just as capable as men are.
Shut up!
I identify as a man!
Jack, do you think I could open the door?
It's 2022, Rose. I wouldn't want to imply that you can't handle the ice-cold water the same way a man could.
I think I'm dying, Jack.
I love 2022.
It's a man's world one way or another, and I would absolutely go to the theaters to check out that new Titanic. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Rudowski here of WeAreChange.org. And man, oh man, do we have some silly, crazy news to get into today, as a lot of people have absolutely lost their minds. This as Greta Thunberg has just issued another demand, which the people of Europe are implementing whether they like it or not. This as, of course, the dark winter is fast approaching, and the real-life consequences are going to be felt severely throughout the poorest in the world. What's happening here? How crazy will this lunacy get? Well, pretty crazy. And if you like the shirt that I'm wearing today that says don't take people's stuff and don't hurt them, you could get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. The video that we played in the beginning of this broadcast looks like it's a comedy skit from a social media user that is at Matt_Johnston. You can see it right here on your screen. If I miscredited the amazing human beings that created this comedy skit, please let me know down in the comment section below so I could attribute and accredit them correctly, because truly their revisionist work of the new Titanic is just as absolutely hilarious as it is brilliant, as of course it highlights the destruction of our modern day society with the replacement of woke ideology that of course is going to be hurting the people who are most advocating for it. And in related people getting hurt news by the policies that they advocated for, in New York City, one of the nation's biggest cities, we have seen a huge uptick in very serious crime during the summer months, as the latest NYPD data came out showing how violent maniacs have taken over the city. This as the NYPD guards political statements outside of Trump Tower. Serious crime went up 35.6% since 2021. Yes, you heard that correctly. 35.6% on average. This as many people are attacked without warning, biker bandits run amok, and if you're an 82-year-old man walking down the street, you could be met with a lunatic that literally uses a machete and pepper sprays you randomly for no reason. That's the type of stuff that the average New Yorker has to deal with. This as one creep, after assaulting a woman, told police officers he can do what he wants and he could, quote, touch anyone he wants when he wants. And that's the belief that a lot of criminals have here, because they were accommodated by the previous administration in the New York City's mayor's office. But very interestingly, New York City being the hotbed of liberalism, of hipsters and their designer jeans, of flip-flop wearing yuppies and their Starbucks, in this safe haven of woke ideology, the liberals here aren't scared of the criminals. They're scared of a former TV reality star with a big ego and a fake tan that's known as the former president of the United States. This as the Daily Mail has a very eye-opening article detailing how, quote, loaded liberals are paying millions of dollars for golden visas to other countries because they're scared the previous president of the United States will lead us into a civil conflict in 2024. This as the Daily Mail is reporting an increase in the pay-to-play immigration industry and a rise of American liberals literally creating second passports and safe havens for them to escape to as they escape their high towers in New York City, their private security guards in the lobby, and literally fly to places like Austria where a passport there costs on average $10 million. You want to go to Jordan? Passport there is going to cost you $1.5 million. Malta, $1 million. St. Kitts and Nevis, $500,000. And this is some of the price that liberals are willing to pay because of their derangement syndrome, which has literally gotten so bad that TV show host personalities are literally giving Hollywood actresses like Jennifer Lawrence nightmares, as she recently admitted that Tucker Carlson, yes, the guy who uses a bow tie and speaks in very high tones and pitches and eloquently asks a lot of questions, somehow, for some reason, is giving Jennifer Lawrence, the lady who in Hollywood looked like she was glued to Harvey Weinstein, the lady who was intricately involved in his plans, his motives, and the horrible, despicable activities that he was doing openly to many people in Hollywood, seeing it as an open secret. This lady is telling everyone that a TV show host, because of his political opinions, is giving her nightmares. And this delusion, this fear-mongering doesn't, of course, end here, as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez just did a feature piece in GQ where she literally talked about how she thinks she's not going to be alive in September. Yes, you heard that correctly. AOC told GQ magazine in their latest fashion shoot of her that, quote, realistically, I can't even tell you if I'm going to be alive in September, and that weighs very heavily on me. Now, what is she talking about? What did she mean by this very vague statement? Well, probably a lot more delusional thinking, which we will be expanding on LukeUncensored.com. Later on today, we're going to have a video that actually is available right now for you if you are a member of LukeUncensored.com. We also have a forum, masterclasses, and exclusive merchandise available at cost. Only special designs for members if you sign up to LukeUncensored.com. If you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? As of course, I've been spending a lot of my time putting in the blood, sweat, and tears into building up this online social media platform where we actually get to talk about issues and things that, of course, we cannot talk about here on this family-friendly broadcast. The broadcast on LukeUncensored.com is definitely not family-friendly, and we're going to be getting into some serious issues that, of course, we can't on this platform. Issues that we specifically highlight in a way to give you information so you make the right decisions for you during these very turbulent times. Lots of craziness unfolding everywhere. I hope you guys are prepared. I hope you guys are smart. We try to facilitate all of that on LukeUncensored.com. Sign up right now if you haven't yet, just by clicking the link down below and watching the new video broadcast that's available to you right now as we are speaking. As long as, of course, you could keep the lights on, which not many people could be able to say in a few weeks from now, especially with the very drastic situation unfolding in mainly Democratic liberal areas like in California and in Europe, where they have implemented policies that have literally shot themselves in the foot and limited the amount of energy that the citizens could have there. And if it's not green policies, it's also foreign policy that has created a very desperate situation. This as the Russian oil giant Gazprom just released a video showing the West freezing over as, of course, they just shut off their major gas supply to Europe. They blamed the United States for this, the sanctions on Russia because of this, and whoever you think might be responsible for this, Russia is saying it's the United States because they can't get hardware to fix their gas pipelines. The United States and Europe is saying it's Russia because they invaded Ukraine. Wherever you may stand on this, we have to understand that this, of course, is confounding and making the problems worse for the poorest people in the world that are going to have to deal with the consequences of this global disruption that a lot of egotistical politicians have created because of their aspirations for power and influence. And whenever you have politicians standing in the way and saying, no, I'm more important, what I want is more important than the hungriest, the poorest people, the people with the least amount of resources, the least amount of savings, the least amount of money being screwed over, that right there is something that deserves to be called out on both sides. And I don't care what side you're on, because at the end of the day, politicians have created this situation where the poorest amongst us will be suffering the most. And as Europe denies its citizen energy, whether deliberately through, of course, stopping domestic energy production and exploration, or through their foreign policy, it's still something that's going to have vast, wide-ranging effects that at least there should be a debate on. India has a different perspective, as of course, along with China, they have been buying Russian energy at a discount cost. We're going to get to China in a little bit, but an Indian politician explained his policy to CNBC News in a very short and concise way.
But yes, we will buy from Russia. We'll buy from wherever.
Yeah.
A democratically elected government.
And you don't have a moral conflict with the Russians at all?
No, it's a question of no conflict. I have a moral duty to my consumer. Do I, as a democratically elected government, want a situation where the petrol bunk runs dry. Look at what's happening in countries around.
And while this Indian politician spoke frankly about his duty to serve his people and not to starve them of energy, we also have to understand with China implementing a very similar policy, with even Russia announcing that they're soon going to be working on a new pipeline from Russia to China. That China's hand in this is also very important to understand, mainly because as the Financial Times reports, it is China that is throwing Europe a, quote, energy lifeline with giving them gas. Now, what kind of gas is China giving Europe? Well, the same gas that Europe is sanctioning and not trying to get from Russia. Yes, you heard that correctly. According to many sources now, China is quietly buying up Russian gas and selling it back to Europe at a premium profit for themselves, with, of course, the extra transportation of that gas, which has to go around Africa, creating more green carbon emissions, which this policy of in Europe were supposed to allegedly stop. Yes, you're hearing this correctly. This as if almost it was a cruel joke, as of course the green energy policies paraded on and pushed on by Greta Thunberg have literally created a situation where Europe is buying gas that's being resold from Russia to China, paying China, one of the largest polluters in the world, using more energy, more emissions to literally ship it halfway around the world in a very cost-inhibitive way, all in the name of green policies, which, according to Greta Thunberg, is not even doing enough. And of course, these policies, these green energy policies, have led us to this lunacy and insanity. And according to Greta Thunberg, Swedish politicians need to do more, as she is accusing now Swedish politicians right before elections of not doing enough for the climate. And again, the climate policies, the green energy policies, the stopping of domestic energy production and exploration has created a very drastic situation in Europe that is going to create a vast amount of poor people and at the same time create more waste, create more carbon, create more energy that has to be spent shipping energy in from all the way around the world. So it's a lose-lose on all spectrums, on all fronts. China's making a profit here. Russia is stubbing the nose at Europe, hurting themselves. And Greta Thunberg is announcing more rules, regulations, and interventions of governments stopping energy from reaching the general public, which of course is creating a crisis where the European Union is now announcing that they are going to be reducing electricity for citizens during peak hours in order to, quote, yes, you heard this correctly, flatten the curve. Just when you thought the talking points couldn't get more in your face, more bold, more sinister, here we are today with European bureaucrats using the same language from the last 2 years, just implementing it into, of course, now environmental policies, which will be treated the same ways as, of course, the previous health policies within the last 2.5 years were. As we warned you, as we told you, the same restrictions, the same lockdowns will be coming, but in the name of course, climate.
This is what is expensive, because in these peak demands, the expensive gas comes into the market. So what we have to do is flatten the curve and avoid the peak demands. We will propose a mandatory target for reducing electricity use at peak hours, and we will work very closely with the member states to achieve this.
Yes, mandatory cutting off of energy to the average citizen, as of course the politicians that created this crisis and the ruling class that pushed these policies on the general public that created everything that they have to deal with are literally flying around in private jets, swimming around on their little private yachts, and literally living in mansions. The restrictions aren't going to those individuals. No. They're the ruling class. Everyone else here will go through mandatory reduction of energy, which of course you do not have a choice in complying. This is, again, tyranny on the highest levels, orchestrated chaos, as even the new German economic minister is coming out and saying that parts of the economy will simply stop because of the high energy prices that politicians have created in Europe and the rest of the world. Volkswagen, by the way, just started stockpiling beer bottles because it takes a large amount of natural gas in order to create glass, as there, of course, is going to be a glass shortage, which is going to threaten a lot of supply chains in all of Europe. And when the politician said, you will own nothing and you will be happy, this is literally the policies that will lead to this, as of course you could expect. Major economic disruptions, major life disruptions, major private, small, and middle class businesses to be eviscerated, the poorest people to become even poorer, and human suffering on a scale that you can't even imagine. In the United States, more than a third of working families can't afford basic needs. This as people are using generators. Again, I'm going to be talking about this issue. I'm going to continue talking about this issue on LukeUncensored.com. I want to get into a different aspect of the story that I can't talk about here. That video available for you right now down in the description below. But if you liked what I said in this video, if you agreed with my opinions and my perspectives, share this video with your friends and family members. If you disagreed with them, tell me. I love constructive criticism. I love being able to see something from a different point of view that I couldn't imagine myself or I couldn't see myself. And it takes all of us participating in a conversation for us truly to get to the bottom of the problems that we have to deal with in order to truly solve them. Understanding the problems is the first step, and that's why I keep telling, share this video. Again, YouTube doesn't do it. We've been working hard. Our videos have been very high. Subscriptions, negative. How did that happen? How did that happen, YouTube? Again, it's absolutely mind-boggling. So if you haven't subscribed yet, click the subscribe button. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys being a part of this independent media organization. And this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.